Questions. I need answers.
Hey everybody, Crow back again with a questions and answers video. Now, actually I didn't think I'd be doing another one of these for quite some time, because in my mind it didn't seem like I had a whole lot of questions to answer. And then somebody left a comment on one of my videos saying, hey, when are you doing the next questions and answer video? And I was thinking to myself, well, it's not going to be for some while. He can only have like 4 questions. So I looked it up, and it turns out I have like 18 questions, something like that. And I was like, oh, maybe I should make one of those. Now, just for starters, if you want to ask a question, there'll be a link in the description where you could go fill out a form to ask a question. And I may or may not answer it. See, I don't know exactly when I'm going to be doing these videos. I mean, some of these questions are several months old. It goes back as far as May, actually. So some of these questions are quite dated, but I think I will be answering all of them. So let's start off. I think that's all I want to. Yeah. So yeah, I pretty much said what I wanted to say. But the first question here is from Death Adder. Considering that Joel in Mystery Science Theater 3000 is stuck in outer space, how does he eat and breathe?
You're wondering how he eats and breathes and other science facts. Then repeat to yourself, it's just a show. I should really just relax.
All right, well, that was an easy question to answer. Next question from Sega CD Universe. He says, hey, buddy, was there any FMV games that made you feel like you were in them in terms of being realistic or sucking you into that world? Now, to me, let's see, there's a whole lot of FMV games on a Sega CD, for example. I know that's kind of what he's referring to. Games like Night Trap, which, by the way, was just, you could just pre-order it on Limited Run Games, the new 25th anniversary edition. And yes, I did get a copy of that. I know a lot. It didn't seem like they made as many copies as they should have because it sold out really quickly, really quickly. But the funny thing is, like, this will be like the 4th version of Night Trap I've actually owned, and I've still never really played that game. I might have put it in for a few minutes to try it out, but I've never actually really played it. Now, this version that I get for the PS4, I'm actually going to really play that. In fact, I'm probably going to try and stream it, like I've been trying to stream everything that I've been getting. And, you know, for at least the last month, I think I've been doing that. But yeah, I'm getting a little bit bigger into streaming now. So I really haven't played that. I tried to play Sewer Shark. I couldn't get into that. Oh, the thing with Night Trap 2, this will be the only version of Night Trap I actually own right now. Because even though it is the 4th version I've owned, I've actually sold the other copies that I've had. I've had it for the Sega CD, the Sega 32X, and the 3DO. I don't own any of those systems anymore, so I no longer have those games. So this will be, yeah, the copy of Night Trap that I own. And from what it sounds like, it's going to be the definitive edition. So I can't actually wait to get into that and play it. For me, it will be the first time, really. But like, there's other FMV games. I know Sewer Shark is another really popular one. I've tried to play that. I really couldn't understand it. I'm sure if I played it a little bit longer, I'd start to understand the game. There's, you know, Slam City with Scotty Pippen. I tried to play that. I couldn't quite understand that. There's Supreme Warrior. But there is one game one FMV game on the Sega CD that I played and I really enjoyed, and that's Road Avenger. And yeah, I played that all the way through. It really does, even though it is a cartoony graphics, I really did feel sucked into that game, because you are playing behind the steering wheel, even though you are just inputting left or right or turbo boost or brakes or whatever. You are right behind the wheel of the car almost the whole time. The game does kind of cut away for action scenes or whatnot, but yeah, that to me is a game that kind of really sucked me in, because I do like that kind of Mad Max apocalyptic world setting, even though it's kind of just short of being post-apocalyptic in this world. There are the street gangs and whatnot, but and there are some like desert sceneries. It almost could be right out of Mad Max, but yeah, Road Avenger is going to be my pick for that. It's probably my favorite FMV game, if I'm honest. And I wish they would remake that. There might actually be a remake for the portable. So I think there is a remake now that I think about it. I might have to look into that now that I mentioned it. But yeah, that was one of my favorite Sega CD titles when I had a Sega CD. And I do wish they would find a remasters and do that one up again, just like they did with Night Trap. So next question here from Heyman, and he says, assuming you've gotten far in Persona 5 by the next QQQAAA, and to just stop right there, I have beaten the game. Not only have I beaten the game, but I started a New Game Plus, and I think I might be halfway through that game too. I kind of just stopped because I was like, why am I playing this? I got so many other things to play. But yeah, I'm pretty far. I've beaten Persona 5, and I actually started playing it again. But what he says is, who did you end up dating? Who did you end up dating? Who was the best girl? How do you feel about your character living above a coffee shop? Knowing you hate coffee, you must wish to burn that place to the ground. I actually ended up dating a Makoto, but because of the social links of the game, something that didn't happen for me till like the very end of the game almost. So I didn't really see too many benefits for it. I mean, I did see the Valentine's Day scene and all that other stuff. But supposedly I did go online and see what happened. Somebody dated every single girl that was possible. That was quite a scene. But yeah, I mean, in my second playthrough, I wasn't sure who I was going to try and go for the second time. It was either going to be Anne or the doctor. I can't remember her name. But honestly, it doesn't really do much for the game, I think. It's like I said in my talking about Persona 5 game, yeah, the dating aspect is there, but it really doesn't mean anything in the grand scheme of the game. And the fact that it was a coffee shop, it was kind of a nuisance to me, but honestly, it really didn't bother me too much. I mean, I understand that people drink coffee and there are coffee shops. I understand that. There's nothing I can do about it. So yeah, but it wasn't like a big turnoff for me to say, hey, this game sucks because he lives in a coffee shop. So yeah, just something I had to get over. Next question is from K Sharp. 2 parts here. Part 1, are you happy your sister finally subscribed to your channel and watching your videos? Now, it should be a hint that K Sharp is actually my sister who currently resides in Arizona. I live in Illinois. She lives in Arizona. I haven't actually seen her for a long time, nor much less have very lengthy conversations with her at all. But actually, last time I saw her was 2012, so that's been about 5 years, almost 5 years since I've seen her. Oh no, I take that back. I saw her earlier this year when my what was the occasion? My sister's birthday. She came in, so I did see her that one day too. But yeah, I'm happy that you're subscribed. But I would be happier if you subscribed on Twitch too. I'm actually, I seem to be gravitating a little bit more towards Twitch now because I did used to do the Crow Plays videos on YouTube. But honestly, I think Twitch is way better suited for that. I've come to grips with streaming and everything. So I think it's a much better platform for that. I will still put Pinball Arcade videos on this channel, but those are the only, Crow Plays videos that there will actually be. Everything else is just going to be on Twitch. I know I'm streaming on YouTube as well as Twitch simultaneously. And I've had some people ask, hey, aren't you saving the videos on YouTube? And I say no, because I think it'll just clog up my video feed with just big, giant, long videos of me playing games. Those videos are actually going to be stuck on Twitch. And the way I have Twitch set up with my account, Amazon Prime account, those videos will be on Twitch for 90 days before they get removed. So I think that 90 days is plenty of time to go over there and kind of thumb through whatever videos you might be interested in that I've played, and you fast forward, rewind, whatever. Yeah, but there's hours and hours and hours of footage of me playing games on Twitch. I haven't even been on Twitch streaming for over 90 days. Yeah, I mean, the account is old, yes, but I haven't streamed in a long time, and then I came back. It's not even been a month, I think. So all the videos so far that I've done, I've streamed, are still on Twitch. On YouTube side, I'm actually, those videos get unlisted, and then when I'm done and I look at it, I go, okay, delete. That's pretty much how that works. Second part of the question, don't you wish you could go back to simpler times of arcades and home consoles instead of almost all games being online multiplayer, not even given the option of local co-op? Well, yeah, that is kind of annoying. But the thing is, though, even when I get together with my friends now, doing online multiplayer, even though we're in the same room, is kind of simpler than making sure everyone's plugged into the same network to do local co-op. I mean, granted, I think for some people it is a I think it is a more convoluted solution. I mean, we're all in the same building, yet we're all sending our signals out to the internet and back to play a game. But honestly, I think it works out a bit better in the long run. Plus, people, our friends that can't even make it can join in as well. So I think that's an improvement. But not all games are online multiplayer only. There's a lot of games, and this is one of the reasons I kind of got into Steam a bit more, is because there's a lot of these indie games, single player games that are very cheap, that they're cheap on Steam. And if they do appear on consoles, they do go for a little bit of a bigger price, even though they are still the same digital game. But then you've got companies like Limited Run Games and Special Reserve that are actually printing out physical copies of these lesser known titles. And that's pretty much what's getting me back into the console side. So I've got kind of this balance here of the Steam side of the indie games and the PS4 version of the indie games, because, and then you've got the indie box as well. So I think there's a lot of variety out there, and you just have to look for it a little bit, because if you just look at what is the most popular here and now, it's going to seem like there's not a whole lot of online, a whole lot of single player or whatever. And you know what? I might be spoiled a little bit, because I do have an arcade about 5 minutes away from me in the next town over, Galloping Ghosts. What do they have? 400, 500? They've been expanding the building. 400, 500 arcade machines. So you still get that arcade experience. The only thing is you pay everything right at the front, and everything's set on free play. So you don't get that experience of putting the quarters in the machine, but you do get the arcade experience if you do go there. So K Sharp, I'm not going to say your first name. Keep your anonymity. Next time you're in, you have to go to Galloping Ghosts. For everybody else, my sister actually did work at a cyber station in the mall when there used to be an arcade in the mall at one point. So let's move on to the next question. Is from Leonard. I'd like to get a pinball controller to play the pinball arcade with. Which pinball controller would you recommend? I'd prefer a controller that has 2 buttons on each side. Honestly, I've looked for a controller like that, and I don't think that there's anybody really selling a controller like that specifically for the pinball arcade. There might be a Kickstarter of somebody trying to mass produce one of those controllers. I'm not sure. But honestly, every time I look up a controller, it's always like, oh, here's how you can make your own controller. So I think for the time being, if you want like a pinball type controller for the pinball arcade, you kind of have to make your own. Honestly, I don't have any problem using a PS4 controller. Honestly, when I had the Pinball Hall of Fame on the Wii, the remote and nunchuck seemed to be like the best thing to use, because you could shake those things, and that's what nudged the table. But I've gotten just as adept using the analog stick to nudge the table. That's the biggest thing, is just figuring out how to nudge the table. And for me, a PS4 controller works fine. But if somebody did ever bring to market a pinball arcade controller, I'd have to look into it. I might even get it if it's not too ridiculously overpriced. So next question is from Anon. He says, any thoughts on E3? He must have posted this question just after E3. And to be honest, there wasn't anything in E3 I was too excited about. What I found interesting, there were a couple things. The South Park game, The Fractured Butthole, looked really good. That got me excited. I actually pre-ordered that game on Amazon. But mostly the reason I pre-order on Amazon is for the discount. Now that I think about it, I think I pre-ordered the collector's edition, and they don't do discounts in the collector's edition anymore. I may actually change that to go for the cheaper version, but the collector's edition has a steelbook, so it's a tough decision there. For me, I gotta go with the steelbook. So we'll see if I can break loose of that. But it also does have a season pass, and it's kind of disheartening to see that an RPG has a season pass. So I don't know. The Mario Rabbids game, I thought that was going to be stupid, but when they showed that, I was like, yes, I think I have to have that. So I pre-ordered that as well. So yeah, the Mario and Rabbids game, the strategy kind of game, I'm definitely getting that. And the final game that seemed really interesting was on the Switch side, and that's Mario Odyssey. Now, the first time they showed footage of the game, I was completely turned off from the game, because it was like Mario running around New York. And even though he's a human, he's like a deformed human, while there's realistic humans walking around. That didn't really make me that interested in the game. But this new trailer and gameplay that I saw from E3 really gets me more hyped for the game than I would have been. So that's coming out way later this year. Probably one of my last pickups for the year. Well, last major pickup. I can't predict what I'm actually going to get or not, but I do have that pre-ordered on Amazon as well. So let's move on. Next question is from Lucky. So, is Bowser going to marry Peach? And I wonder if he's asking this question because of the reveal of the Bowser, Peach, and Mario amiibos, where they're in these white wedding outfits or whatever. I don't think Bowser's going to marry Peach, but you know what? This wouldn't be the first time either, because that already happened in Super Paper Mario, where they were Bowser and Peach were kind of getting married. I don't even remember what really happened with that, but so yeah, it really remains to be seen, but I highly doubt it. All right, next question. Actually, I'm going to tie these next two questions together because they're very, very similar. Okay, Day of Daniel says, and this is a very long question, I hate to bring up Capcom again, but Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. People online and even critics are saying that this is what a huge step down the graphics from Street Fighter V and even Marvel vs. Capcom 3 from 2011. Data mining has shown most of the roster and rehashes, and the same characters from Marvel vs. Capcom with little to no new characters. Capcom has already announced DLC and DLC characters months before the game is even released. Professional players who played the demo said the game hasn't changed much and is pretty ho-hum. I could go on, but I'll stop myself. Then we have Disney, who's forcing Capcom to use MCU characters only so far. So is Capcom going to learn to put the heart and soul in their games again? After Dragon Ball FighterZ, it seems like most people, as of the writing of Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, are heavily favoring Dragon Ball. I love Capcom, and I find it a strange joy to see them slowly wither away. Maybe hope that they are close to death, so they can see what's wrong and become the Capcom of old. And actually, the next question is from Sagari. What are your thoughts on Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite Trouble? Ugly graphics, awful roster, and DLC all over. It didn't help that E3 showed Dragon Ball Z Fighters trailer. Seems like some people are dumping Marvel vs. Capcom. What happened to Capcom? Since these two questions are very, very similar, even bringing up the Dragon Ball Z Fighter, which I actually saw and kind of just passed on just because I've seen Dragon Ball Z Fighter before, but maybe it's worth a second look now. But yeah, it's not looking good for Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. And aside from the ugly graphics, the biggest thing that you'll notice is that the roster is very, very lacking from the game. What they show, it's like only 20-some characters, which I think is the lowest roster of any Marvel vs. Capcom game to date. I mean, Marvel vs. Capcom 2 had like 56 characters. I don't remember what Marvel vs. Capcom 3 had. I barely touched that game, actually, even though I bought it twice, because they had Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and then the Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. I actually kept both of them because the original version of Marvel vs. Capcom 3 I only bought because it had a steelbook and it had two of the download characters, which I think wound up being all of the download characters. But the lack of characters in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, and it makes me lead to something I was thinking of, because like even with Street Fighter V, they're still not done with Street Fighter V. I looked into it, and they are releasing characters, every few months. Maybe a month or so goes by, and they release a new character, and they're still doing this. This game originally released February of 2016. And they've so far released 10 characters individually, like 1 month after another, maybe a couple months in between. And the most recent release was just last month in July. And it's not even a month old yet. And the character seems to be broken, because there are people that can, perform a combo that seemingly takes away the health completely of the other character. And what this tells me is that Capcom, at least, is not testing their games. They're just creating new characters, and then they're throwing it out there, DLC updates for the game, and the players play and they complain, and that's when they test it. That's when they update it. So it doesn't seem like they're beta testing or quality testing anything that they're doing these days. Instead, the people who bought and are playing the game are the people that are actually testing the game for Capcom, and then they'll turn around and, oh, here's a patch to fix that. So with that in mind, I think that's what they're going to do with Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. They do the same thing that maybe Microsoft did with Killer Instinct, where, okay, we'll release these characters, and then we'll release, I'm just hearing stuff behind me. It's like woodland creatures back there. So they're releasing, character and character, just, okay, you got to pay for this character, and you got to pay for this character, you got to pay for this update, you got to pay for this. They want to do that with Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, and I think that's why it's called Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite instead of Marvel vs. Capcom 4, because by calling it Infinite, they could just infinitely update it. And now that the character roster is only like 20-some characters, if they keep releasing characters over time, who knows? They could be the biggest Marvel vs. Capcom roster yet. But it doesn't leave a good first impression, I think. And they're just going to release this game. It's going to play. It's going to play like crap. It's going to look like crap, because they're not testing it. They're going to do very little, if any, quality testing on the game. The people will complain, and then they're going to say, hey, look, we listened to you, and we fixed it. In reality, what they're having you do is the people that buy the game are the ones testing the game, doing the testing for Capcom. So they get their money up front, and then they're using you to test the game for them. So I will not buy the game until I know for sure. Like, same thing with Street Fighter V. I haven't bought the game because they're not done with it. When they're done with it, and if they're done with it, then maybe I'll buy it on Steam if it's really cheap. But if, like Street Fighter versus Tekken, I still haven't bought that. I keep thinking about buying it on Steam, because it's like Steam has their sale, and the game goes from $20 to $5. It's like, oh, $5 isn't a bad price for that game. But then it's like, oh, then you have to buy all the DLC too to get the complete game, and that bumps the price back up to $20. And to me, I think, no, I'm going to wait for it to go cheaper. But if they were to release Street Fighter versus Tekken, the complete game on disc, at least with all the characters, then yeah, I'd go out and buy it and play it. But Street Fighter V, like they did the same thing with Street Fighter 4. I didn't buy it until it was Ultra Street Fighter 4. And with Street Fighter V, when they finally finish updating the game, putting all the characters, maybe if they release, hey, here's a Street Fighter V Complete Edition, I'll buy that. But it's going to be the same thing with Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Depending on how successful the game is, they may be updating this game for years. If it's not very successful, then they're going to abandon it. And if they abandon it, who knows if we'll ever see a physical release of that. It'll at least be on Steam, so maybe that's a viable option. Because for digital games, I'll go to Steam for digital, but physical, I'll go for the console. So I think that answered everything in those two questions. There are only 3 questions left, so let's finish this up here. Next question is from Adam Beat. What are you most likely to do? Crank up the heat or crank it says crank to heat up. So crank the heat up or crank the AC up. I think crank the heat up or crank the AC up. I'm I actually prefer it when it's cooler. Right now, it's like a nice, cool 60-some degrees, maybe in the low 70s. It's got to be like 66, 68. I'm going to look. It is 71. I was way off. But, yeah, I like it cool like this. I don't like it hotter, so I'm more likely to crank the AC up. But when it is winter, I will crank the heat up, too. So, I don't know. I don't know if the purpose of if your purpose of the question was, do you prefer the heat or the cold? I prefer the cold. So, next question here is from Kasundu348. A review on the new Spider-Man movie. What are your thoughts on the chances of the certain... I think he means, what are your thoughts on the chances of the certain character? I won't mention who, but if you see the movie, I'm sure you'll know who I'm talking about. I thought Spider-Man was a really good movie. It was better than I expected. I liked Tom Holland, who played Spider-Man. I thought he made a great Spider-Man. I liked Michael Keaton as the Vulture. He made a great Vulture character. The thing I didn't like, and it just might be because I'm older, is I didn't like the rest of the high school kids. I didn't like who Flash Thompson was. To me, that's not the same Flash Thompson I'm familiar with. I think they're going for the newer comics, so I don't even know what the newer ones are like. So Flash Thompson, I didn't like that. That didn't resonate with what I wanted in Flash Thompson. He wasn't like so much an out-and-out athletic bully. He just seemed like a dick. And that may just be what his character is in the comics. I don't know. I think what you're talking about is the girl who's MJ. And yeah, that to me, she's not a redhead. I don't know what it's like in the new comics, but that seems very far removed from the Mary Jane that I'm familiar with and the Mary Jane that I expect. I think that might be who you're talking about. I kind of didn't like the fact that Peter had this friend that knew who he was, like Peter Parker. He knew that he was Spider-Man. I don't know. That may be from the new comics. But you know what? Those are just minor gripes. The movie overall is great. I'm glad what they did with it. I think that I liked Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2 more. That, to me, still might be my favorite Spider-Man movie. But this is definitely a second favorite, I think. So I recommend seeing it if it's in fact still in theaters. I don't know if it is or not, but I'll definitely be buying it, and I'm looking forward to seeing Spider-Man in the event. I think he is going to be in the Avengers, so that's going to be good. I actually like how I don't know if this is spoiler territory with the movie, but I like how the movie opened, where you got to see Spider-Man's perspective on the airport battle scene from Civil War. I thought that was a really good way to start the movie. All right, next question from Kasandu. Oh, wait. Okay, I already answered one. Next question is from Blank Line, question mark. Why did Universal try to make a shared universe movie? Mummy failed hard. I don't know about you, but I'm getting sick of all these studios trying to do shared universes. And I kind of see what you're going for. I like shared universes when they're done properly. I like how certain movies tie in together. But they see the success of things like the Harry Potter movies, and the studios think we need to get a built-in audience, so we know that, okay, the first Harry Potter movie is very successful, the second Harry Potter is very successful. As we keep making these Harry Potter movies in this Harry Potter universe, we'll keep getting money. They kind of want a guaranteed thing. So that's why when Harry Potter was over, they started with the Fantastic Beasts. And I don't know how well that did compared to Harry Potter. I actually liked it a bit more than Harry Potter because it wasn't following kids around the whole time. I mean, we had 8 movies of following around wizard kids, and now we finally get to see, wizard adults. So that was a nice change of pace. But yeah, they see what Marvel's doing with the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and they see how people are excited for the next movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and they think we need to build up our own universe. The thing is, though, that when Marvel started their Marvel Cinematic Universe, they didn't go out and say, hey, this is going to be part of this big universe. No, they just came out with Iron Man. I think, was Iron Man the first one? Yeah, I think that one was the one that kicked it off. They didn't say, hey, we're going to have this huge universe. You're going to have Iron Man, he's going to have this. They kind of just started doing things, and things just kind of fell into place, I think. and they say, hey, this is working out. So they came forward and say, okay, this is the next movie in the universe. This is the next movie in the universe. And they had this timeline, and everybody got excited for it. The problem is that other studios see this, and they think, oh crap, we need something like this. So Universal's like, well, what do we have? And they're like, well, we have those old Universal monster movies. And they kind of had their own universe way back in the day, in the early 30s or whatever, where, you know, you had Dracula, The Mummy, Frankenstein. I guess those movies weren't technically tied in together, but they're like, let's take those movies, bring them back, and try and tie all these movies together. But the thing is, though, they were telling people they were doing this long before The Mummy even came out. They were even, the Dracula movie, Dracula Untold, was supposed to be the first one, and when that bombed, they were like, oh, no, we're not doing that one. That's not part of the universe. Let's go with The Mummy. They're going to start, this is the one that's officially kicking it off. So they had, and Tom Cruise was supposed to be in all these movies, and, you know, the Johnny Depp, the Invisible Man. They had, you know, the thing is, though, they just didn't let the movie sit on its own first. You know, you got to have, if you're going to have a beginning movie, you got to have something people are interested in. And I don't know if people are all that interested in, you know, The Mummy, again, a Mummy remake, you know, less than, when did that movie come out, with the Brendan Fraser Mummy? But they had its own series. I saw the first one, and people seem to like the Brendan Fraser version of The Mummy more than this new version of The Mummy, which just turned out to be an action movie, not suspenseful at all. I mean, this is from what I've heard. I haven't seen it, but it doesn't really interest me. But yeah, they're trying to force people into saying, you're going to love this movie, it's going to be part of the cinematic universe, you have to see this movie, because if you don't see it, you might be lost in the next one. And I don't know what the next one is. I really don't. I don't know if there's going to, I don't know if they killed their own universe before it even started. But the problem is they just go out bragging that, yeah, this is going to be our universe, this is going to be great. Don't miss the first movie in the cinematic universe. Never mind that the movie isn't that great, but I mean, it might turn out to be good. I mean, there's some things like, you know, TV shows that I like where the beginning's pretty rough, and then it kind of matures into and gets its footing and becomes something people like. And who knows, maybe that is something that will happen, and people will look, you know, 10 years from now, will look back at this Mummy movie and say, you know what, you know, people gave it an unfair shake. But, you know, something I doubt. But I think that's enough of this video, so let's go back inside. See y'all next time. Bye.